Breaking update from the Bay. A quiet, calculated move is taking shape behind closed doors, the kind of move that doesn't light up a skyline, but shifts it a few degrees. Tonight I'm bringing you the pulse of it, the real temperature at Chase Center. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the chessboard, what the front office wants to fix, the cap math that either unlocks or kills a deal, how Steve Kerr will weaponize a floor spacer in our second units, what the timeline looks like given the medicals, and why this seemingly small swing could ripple into the spring. I'm keeping one name holstered for now. You'll know it when it drops. Stay with me. I live and breathe this team's rhythm, and right now the song has a gap. It's not the headline act Stephen Curry's gravity still tilts the planet, and Draymond Green still turns defense into language. It's the connective tissue when Steph sits. Those 5 to 8 minute pockets where spacing collapses, tempo slows, and we end up playing in a phone booth. Last year, that stretch of minutes cost us runs, momentum, and, at times, belief. Mike Dunleavy Jr. and company didn't ignore that. They paper-clipped together Answer's youth development, a veteran big who can pass and shoot. More rim-running, cleaner second-side actions. But the whiteboard in the room still has one empty. Box. A trustworthy bench four who stretches to the arc, screens like a grown man, and doesn't need the ball to bend the defense. That's the skeleton key in Kerr's offense. People think of pace and space like it's just sprint and spray. With us, it's geometry. We stress angles with Chicago action. We live in dribble handoffs, DHOs, and we love forcing bigs to choose between the paint and a pick and pop. With the starters, that's automatic. Without Steph, we need someone who converts a simple DHO into a lie detector. If the defender shoots the gap, it's a flip back three. If he trails, it's a short roll. If he switches, it's a slip. All we need is a shooter whose presence makes a scouting report nervous. Here's the honest reality check on the roster. Jonathan Kuminga's leap as a downhill threat is real. Trace Jackson-Davis gives us vertical gravity we used to dream about. Brandon Podziemski reads the floor like a veteran. Moses Moody's point-of-attack defense is valuable. And Al Horford's high-post decision-making plugs into the way we like to play. But the second unit shot diet still tilts toward drives and short-roll playmaking. What's missing is that dead series 6-7 to 6-8 spacer who lives at 38 to 40% from deep, screens with force, and understands the patience our half-court requires. If that guy exists, he turns second unit possession from create something into make the defense pick a poison. So let's put the cap glasses on, because this is an NBA 2K. After a summer of careful maneuvering, we're operating under a hard line, the kind of line that punishes teams who get sloppy with incoming salary and eliminates shortcuts like midseason exception upgrades. Translation, if we do anything, it has to fit inside precise numbers. Even money trades, minimum deals, no chaos, no aggregation fantasies, no luxury tax acrobatics. That constraint makes the search more focused, not less. It narrows us to players who A, make shots, B, don't need volume, C, come with contracts that can slide into our ledger without busting the ceiling. Now zoom out to the marketplace. The West is heavy. Denver's machine is still humming. Minnesota's length turns driving lanes into turbulence. Oklahoma City is a blender with shooting at every spot. And the Clippers and Suns want to out-talent you for 6 minutes at a time. If we're honest, our path isn't brute force anymore. It's precise leverage. Win the Steph minutes big, survive the non-Steph minutes clean, and milk lineups that stack IQ and spacing. This is exactly where a bench four who shoots above league average from 3, understands DHO timing, short roll touch, and weak side tagging becomes a multiplier. That gets us to the profile on the board. Veteran forward, proven three-point resume near 40% for his career, credible screener, comfortable as a handoff hub, used to playoff-level scouting attention, not an isolation guy, not a defensive stopper but knows where to stand, when to sit in a gap, and how to box out the man in front of him. He doesn't need possessions. He seasons them. He's the kind of role player you love in April because his skill set travels. Medical note matters here. We're talking about someone on the mend from a foot stress issue, the kind you handle with patience, not bravado. The calendar is our ally, an early season runway for conditioning, ramp up minutes in November, then a true role test by December-January when rotations harden and scouting tightens. The question isn't, is he a star? It's, does he stabilize? Can he chop the noise out of the non-Steph minutes? Can he make the court feel wide again for Pod's pick and rolls, for Moody's slot drives, for Kuminga's cuts? Before I say the name, let me paint the film. Imagine a second unit set. Horns alignment, Pod's on the right slot, Draymond at the left elbow, this forward at the right elbow. We enter the Dre, guard comes off a Chicago pin down into a DHO, and our forward flips the angle into a ghost screen. The big at the level hesitates because he knows that ghost is a 40% three. The on-ball defender stutters because the handoff might turn into a pocket pass. That hesitation is the window. It's small, but that's the NBA. Categories aren't open or covered. They're he blinked or he didn't. Bring that same action out of our delay series 5 out. Center top now, you've got him toggling between a drag screen into a pick and pop and a DHO handback. You feel the rhythm return. It's not spectacular. It's relentless. What about defense? No fairy tales. He's not switching 1 through 5 or erasing wings on an island, but we're not asking him to. Against bench units, the job is sturdy, smart, and boring. Call out the tagging responsibility. Sit on the nail, rebound your zone. Don't overhelp from the strong side corner, and keep your hands up through contests. In our scheme, with GP2 or Moody handling the point of attack and Trace erasing at the rim, we can live with his feet as long as the communication is clean. And when teams hunt him in pick and roll, we have our counter. Pre-switch with Dre. Peel switch when the ball handler snakes, or drop into a quick zone for 2 possessions to jam their rhythm. We've done it for a decade. Let's speak dollars. The player I'm describing sits on an expiring deal in the single-digit millions, meaning his number is big enough to matter for matching rules, but small enough to finesse with even money mechanics. That matters for us because the cap landscape this season is a minefield. Any incoming money has to be married to outgoing money without blowing our margin against the hard line. The other path, of course, is buyout season if it happens. It's minimum money, vet roll, handshake simple. But that depends on how his current team reads their timeline. They've got young pieces and a mandate to evaluate them, which means veterans on expiring deals become part ballast, part mentorship, part asset. If you're a front office in that position, and you get a call from a contender offering an even money swap plus a second rounder or a developmental wing, you at least take the call. That's just good business. By now, some of you can taste the name. He's known as the minivan, a nickname earned because he doesn't blow by you. He parks next to you, opens the door, and suddenly your man is open in the corner. He was built for handoffs, thrives as a pick-and-pop threat, and has made a career hitting the shot that makes crowds groan. We played great defense for 22 seconds, and he still hit that 3. And yes, he's currently working back from a left foot stress reaction with a short-term reevaluation window. That's part of why the conversation is happening. Precisely now, you price risk in October so you can buy certainty in March, everything. I'm hearing points to a simple conclusion. Golden State is testing the waters on Georgia's Niang. That's the name on the whiteboard. That's the player who checks the boxes without blowing up the books. A career near 40% three-point shooter who understands how to play next to stars. Who is comfortable being the 5th option on one possession and the shot finisher on the next. On our bench, Niang's value multiplies because of how we stage our second units. Plug him next to Draymond as the connector big. You can run split cuts from both elbows. Pair him with Pods and Moody. You can drag screen into Spain variations where Niang becomes the pop threat that keeps the back line honest. Place him with Kuminga and Trace. Niang's gravity pulls a weak side big out of the lane, so JK can slice in the daylight and Trace can live on lobs. Let's talk usage in minutes. Niang doesn't need 15 shots. 6 to 8 attempts, 4 to 6 threes, and a couple of screens that free better scorers. Those are winning minutes. In the non-Steph stints, he turns a clogged half-court into a driveway. In end-of-quarter lineups with Steph back in, he becomes the "you forgot about me" corner shooter as defenses overhelp on Curry Green actions. Kerr loves reliability disguised as simplicity, and Niang is exactly that. He won't argue for touches. He doesn't need the ball to feel involved. He makes your offense feel organized. What about the concern I'm already reading in your comments? He'll get hunted? 2 answers. First, postseason defense is half matchups and half choreography. We decide when he's on the floor and with whom. If he's out there next to Dre and GP2 or Moody, his weak side rotations become shorter and his rebounding responsibility is straightforward. Hit first, tip second, keep the bigs off the glass. Second, we've won a title running role players who aren't elite defenders because the offense with Steph is an avalanche and the defense with Draymond is a language you learn. The trick is knowing when to say, enough for tonight. That's a coaching job, not a player flaw. Let's get specific about lineups I'd try immediately. Delay 5 out with Niang as the trailer. He pitches to Pods, flips into a DHO, then pops above the break automatic catch and shoot. Ram action. Guard sets a pin in. Niang screens into a shallow roll. Dre hits him on the short roll one-touch swing to the corner. Spain variation for our second unit. High pick and roll with Trace as the roller. Moody back screens the big. Niang occupies the slot. If the tag comes from him, it's a wide open 3. And the sneaky favorite, Horns flare. Post split with Steph occupying the bottom. When defenses front the elbow entry, Niang flips it into a flare screen freeing a shooter and keeping the weak side big pin. Now mechanics. You're not getting Niang for a premium pick. You're not surrendering a core piece. The math that makes sense is even money and small assets, second-round equity, or a developmental flyer. If you're Utah and you believe your kids need runway, converting a veteran on an expiring into a look at a young wing and a pick has logic. If you're Golden State, you do it because the cost is tiny and the fit is clean. If the medicals say green light, you make the call. If the medicals say slow play, you circle buyout season. Either way, the timing is friendly. His reevaluation window sets a natural decision point before rotations calcify. What about the ripple effects on people we love? This move doesn't bury Gui Santos. It sharpens the competition. It doesn't cap Kuminga. It gives him more space to knife into the lane. It doesn't reduce Trace. It supercharges his lob game by pulling a weak side big one step farther out. And it definitely doesn't change Steph, it focuses him. With one more bench spacer, we can steal 3 extra minutes of rest for 30 without the scoreboard wobbling. That's the whole season, right there. You don't win the West by being the biggest. You win it by being the most composed when your star sits. Let me be totally fair on the risks. Foot stress reactions are not to be shrugged at. Conditioning takes time. Rhythm takes time. And Niang, like any role player, lives in the margins. If the shot isn't falling for 2 weeks, you have to stay patient enough to let the numbers come back to his career baseline. Also, there will be matchups where a more switchable forward fits better. That's okay. We're not building an 11-man playoff rotation. We're collecting answers. Niang is an answer for a very specific question. How do we stop the non-Steph minutes from feeling like a tightrope without a net? 2 more notes, because I know you'll ask. First, the locker room quotient. By every account, Niang is vocal, funny, and professional. That matters in a room that's trying to braid 2 timelines, win with your legends, grow your youth. Second, the playoff resume. He's seen every coverage teams can throw at a spacer, and he's hit shots when stars attract the hurricane. That familiarity shows up in the calm between possessions. He doesn't speed up when the lights get bright, All this leads to a pretty clean diagnosis of where the Warriors are and what they value. They're not chasing fireworks. They're tuning an engine. And the name that keeps circling, because it fits the budget, the calendar, the scheme. And the rotation is George's Niang. If the medicals hit their checkpoint and the numbers fit inside the hard line, don't be surprised if we wake up one morning to a transaction note that reads more like a sentence than a paragraph quiet. Tidy. Exactly the kind of move contenders make in plain sight. Here's my concise take as we close. Golden State doesn't need an earthquake. It needs a level. Niang is a level. He spaces the floor, stabilizes the second unit, and lets Steve Kerr toggle into 5 out in any quarter without breathing heavy. The risk is manageable, the price is reasonable, and the upside shows up in the places that decide playoff games. A clean corner 3 with 2:13 left in the third. A box out that prevents a second chance. A DHO that turns a dead possession into 2 points. If the front office pulls this off at the right number, you'll feel it every night and you'll forget it's there by March, which is the mark of a perfect role player on a team that still believes in June. Now it's your turn. Do you buy the idea of George's Niang as the bench spacer who fixes our toughest minutes? Or would you rather aim for a more switchable defender even if the shooting drops? Tell me how you'd use him lineups, actions, who he pairs with best, and whether the medical timeline makes you nervous or just cautious. Drop your thoughts below. I'm reading everything. If you want these quick updates the second they break and deep dive film breakdowns when they matter, tap subscribe and keep the bell on. This community moves fast, and I'm here to keep you ahead of it.